Hey everybody, welcome to Adam Does Hard Things. Today we're going to talk about doing hard things on purpose. So there's a reason that I do quote unquote hard things. There's a reason that I made this whole channel around that theme. And it's not for shock value. There's actually a story behind it. To start today, I want to ask you a question. Let's say, as in my own example, you're training for a really long bike race. It could be anything. I mean, in this case, we're talking weather, but it really could be anything. You can apply this example a lot of places. Your workout is coming up, and you look out the window, and not only is it raining and windy, it's about 32 degrees, and the last place you want to be is outside in the rain. But your workout calls for 2 hours of zone 2 outside. So do you look out that window and think, wow, it really sucks out there. This is a terrible day to train? Or do you look out that window and say, wow, it really sucks out there. This is a great day to train? There's a big gap between those statements, and it doesn't get filled overnight. It takes time to get from one place to the other. And in between are a whole bunch of other hard things. So I want to tell you a story about how I got started doing hard things. Maybe I need to change that. I'm getting euphemisms already about saying that all the time, but it is what it is, I guess. So anyways, my story of the Crusher, the first time I attempted it was in 2021, and I attempted the 225-mile EX. Now, if you're not familiar with the 906 trio of races, the Margie Gesick, the Polaroll, and the Crusher, I talk about these a lot. It's kind of central to the events that I do. If you're not familiar, there's this thing called bonus miles. When one of these events has a mileage attached to it, you can always assume there's going to be several extra miles. So if you don't miss any checkpoints, those are places where you have to stop and take selfies, the 225 is usually more around 238 to 250 miles. But then there's also roads that are difficult to navigate, places where you get off course and have to get back on course. So there's a lot of bonus miles. So when I was looking at this ride, I was excited to do it, but it was for the wrong reasons. The reason I wanted to do this ride was I was weak and I wanted to impress other people. I had a friend who was really into this kind of riding, and I saw the way that people talked about him, and I wanted them to say those things about me. So I jumped into this ride thinking, that's what I need. That's how I prove that I'm worth it. That's how I prove myself, how I can tell myself that I'm good enough. I sold myself that story. So I trained hard. I really did. I put the time in. It wasn't enough. I wasn't ready, which is fine, but I did not know what I was getting myself into. Now, to be fair, I made it pretty far. We had a relatively good day, but I was riding my fat tire bike, which had 4-inch gravel tires, and I was with guys who run mountain bikes. And I was working hard. Probably harder than I needed to, but it was a good ride. Now we got to, I have to think about the exact mileage here, but we got to around mile 85 to 90 out of the 250 something miles that we were doing, and started looking for one of the checkpoints. It's at this bra tree. There's a crossroads between a couple gravel roads, and right at the intersection is a tree with a whole bunch of bras hanging from it, and sometimes beer cans littered around and whatnot. And you got to take a selfie at this bra tree. Well, we'd been going and going up this up and down on this road where it was just that rollers, not big rollers, but just enough. And I was getting tired. I probably wasn't eating enough, and I was really sick of this road. And we just kept going and going and going. And we were talking about the checkpoint. Nobody seems to remember exactly where it's supposed to be. And then all of a sudden we run into another group. And we start chatting, and then all of a sudden it comes out, they say, "Oh yeah, that checkpoint's about 10 miles in the other direction. You guys got to go back." And that's when in my head I quit. I still rode, but that's when I quit. We went back on this road that I was already hating. I was hurting. We got to the tree, we took the pictures, and we turned around and we kept going. We had to cross the mouth of the Huron River, which, depending on the rain levels, can either be ankle deep or waist to chest deep. It wasn't bad that year, but we got to the campground afterwards, which was one of our main stop points, and I was pretty miserable. I was hating life, and I wanted to be done. Now, unfortunately, a friend of mine was with us at the time, had hurt his knee fairly badly and had been suffering through it for quite a few miles. And unfortunately, he had to quit. And there was only room for one of us at the time because of all the stuff we had for support. So he called it up for good reason. My quit was all up here. He had a good reason. He had a physical injury, and it was not safe for him to keep going or cause further damage. As if you bike race, you know that medical bills are not fun. So it was up to me and my friend to keep going, which we did. And the next 50 miles were absolute hell. It was pretty much uphill for almost the entire 50 miles that we went from the mouth of the Huron River to L'Anse. I'm hyping this a little bit because it wasn't as bad as it felt. I have now done that same part of the ride again, and it was in my head. But it was getting cool, it was starting to rain, and mentally I had already quit. So it was a slog. I made it to L'Anse. It took about 7 hours to do 50 miles, and I was miserable. There was a point where I was just yelling curse words to myself while climbing a hill and just saying that I never wanted to ride my bike again. And at approximately 3 a.m., I curled up in the parking lot of the gas station, and I was done. I quit. I would not have it. And my friend went on alone, and I went back and tried to sleep and just thought of him out there in the rain by himself. So you might think you know exactly how this goes, but I mean, I guess it's totally obvious because I'm here talking to you right now about the same thing. I woke up 4 hours later at like 7:30 in the morning, and my first thought was, how do I beat this thing? How do I finish this thing? Just couldn't get it out of my head. So I kept going into this journey, and it didn't even take, it took me several years from that point to really hit on what I've been doing this whole time. The doing hard things. I was changing, and I didn't even know it. So I started to choose the hard things. It took a while. I didn't immediately get to this point where I looked outside in the rain and was thinking, wow, I need to get out in that. This is the perfect day to prepare me for something terrible. I was just doing tough stuff because I wanted to impress people. And gradually, I started to stop caring about whether I impressed people or not. It started to change me. I mean, I felt changed after that first crusher, but when I did Margie Gessick for the first time, which if you're not familiar, go look it up, Margie Gessick. I have videos on here about it. I'm going to have more videos about it on here. That race, finishing it really turned something around in me. And there was still vestiges of that wanting to impress people left when I did Margie for the first time in 2022. But that was where it really started to leave. Finishing that, I realized that I didn't give anybody was impressed with my finish. I was impressed with it. And I did a thing that I didn't think I could do. And it changed my mindset. I've been working on talking positively to myself in Rise up to that point. But it wasn't until that ride that I started to realize it was about me and changing myself. And I don't say that in a selfish way, like I was like that it's just about me, but I started to realize how much I could bring others down by not treating myself right. So, come to today, as I'm working on this channel and trying to tell stories and I'm trying to help you out there, it comes down to the little things. These big things are great. Doing a 30-hour gravel ride in the middle of nowhere really changes you as a person. Sounds silly, but it does. It changes you. Going through overnights by yourself in the UP, it makes you a different person. But you don't have to do that hard of things to make you a different person. Those are just the big goals, right? The big adventures, the big events. What changes you truly as a person is doing the little hard things. It could be getting up 15 minutes earlier, because getting up an hour earlier is super hard. Starting small with 10 minutes or 15 minutes earlier in the morning is huge. It could be only having half of a donut instead of having a whole donut when somebody brings in donuts to work. That's a tiny thing, but that's still a small victory, where if a year ago you would have had 2 donuts and now you're having half a donut, that's a hard thing. It kind of sounds silly, but it's not. When you choose to make those little things harder, it makes you stronger. And the next time, the decision is easier. They say it never gets easier, you only get stronger and tougher. But as you build those decisions, as the habits compound, you do them every single day, the little things, all of a sudden they become habits and you don't have to think about them anymore. So then you're on to the next hard thing and you build and build and build. And before you know it, you're looking out the window and the rain doesn't look so bad. Okay, I can't lie to you. It still looks bad. It still sucks. It doesn't suck any less for me to go do a 3-hour run in the rain. It still sucks. But it doesn't matter. You get to a point, you've done so many little hard things, your brain is just used to it. You know, it's, well, this is what we do now. And that makes you stronger. And not only does it make you stronger for yourself, but it makes you better for everyone around you. I'm becoming better as a person, and that's influencing my children, my wife, all my relationships. Doing these little hard things every day is making me stronger and bringing me closer to all of my goals. So that's really what this channel is about. What I want to talk to you about, the stories that I want to tell you. I talk about doing hard things, this like kind of vague idea, but it has everyday practicable actions that you can take and you can be better. And you'd surprise yourself. We are capable of so much more than we often think about or assume. We limit ourselves too much. We're too sedentary, and we need to be having adventures. It's not as much a part of life anymore as it should be and could be. So I want to encourage you to get out there, to do the little hard things, and to have an adventure. We're definitely going to be talking more about adventure in the future. So thank you for joining me today. If this is any value to you, please hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to. I am trying to post a video every Monday, so there'll be some consistency. And I have a secret. I finally bought a GoPro so I can actually do ride footage, so you don't have to just watch me in my basement anymore. So, oh, sorry about the light there. Yeah, so that's coming soon. I've got some cool stuff planned. Hope you're going to love it. Thank you for tuning in, and go crush it.